Steve, what is going on with this imaginary revolt that you speak of from the UFC and boxing and Dana White stirring up you old heads yet again in the world of boxing? What's going on with this?
Dana, the UFC fighters are revolting. I know they are, but put them on the card anyway, etc., etc. What's happening is this is an Eddie Hearn game, and I kind of admire it because what he's done is he said that 15 million, 13 million pounds, $15 million, or is it 11 million pounds? Anyway, the money that Conor Benn got, people are going to start asking questions, aren't they? When you say it, then UFC fighters go, somebody said we should start asking questions. Maybe we should. So you've got people saying, and Tom Aspinall, saying, or Eddie Hearn saying on his behalf, he can make more money out of commercial deals than he ever did recently in the UFC. Now, we've had the UFC card in London, haven't we? I didn't see it, but apparently Michael Page came out to They Don't Care About Us, which is a Michael Jackson song, isn't it? And Conor McGregor's lent into that. He's lent into that somewhat. So when people start talking about this, there is a piece in a broadsheet newspaper in the UK just today, I think it is, to say they've got to be careful. Eddie Hearn keeps crowing about he's in trouble now because he's got this revolt, and it's going to happen at some point, and it couldn't happen at a worse time for an already stretched Dana White.
Well, I don't know if he's as stretched as people think, and I really don't know that Eddie should really be throwing those kinds of stones, or any of these guys, so to speak. And here's why: because Eddie and Matchroom had a show this past weekend, right? It did pretty good. I mean, there was a full house. All three sides of seating were full. You can only imagine the lineup that there was at the resort ballroom in South Central Florida, the mecca of boxing in South Central Florida. You can only imagine what that was like, right? Like Eddie's got all of these sold out big money MGM Grand Arena shows too, right? He's on a higher horse. Is this what we're saying?
I take your point, and he has said that those Sunday Zuffa shows look like they're in a garage to 150 people. I don't agree with that, but what I do think is that Matchroom usually put a show on every week, or DAZN do, and it's often Matchroom, and so sometimes you get cards where you think, not too bothered, and some of the time you think, I want to see that particular fight, or want to see a few of those. So sometimes you'll have variable quality. However, yes, he is standing in a glass house, and he does have a pocket full of stones. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll tell you what else he's thrown recently. Sure. Conor Benn, the contract with Zuffa will be coming to an end soon, he said, in the next few months. He's lobbed this one in. So he makes a point, actually, because if he's got the money, Conor Benn, then he says, thanks for the pro-grey fight that I won. It made a load of cash, or I got a load of cash from it. Don't know what you got from it, but see you, gentlemen. I'm now going to go belt seeking. Eddie, I think that could happen. But Eddie's also stretched, isn't he?
He absolutely is. 100% is. We saw it. There's no shame in this card that he put on this past weekend. The Matchroom card, but it wasn't any bigger of a spectacle than a Zuffa card, because unless you know boxing, you didn't know who, any of these fighters were. You don't know who Aaron Ammo Williams is. You don't know who Carlos Adames is. You certainly don't know who Teramoana is, but I'm going to tell you right now, look me dead in the eyes when I say to you, everybody out there, keep a very close eye on Teramoana. This giant of a heavyweight is going to be a real problem. He is the next Moses Atamu. He is that next young heavyweight that's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. So when you talk about the fact that Tyson Fury's time is up because there's a whole new bunch of heavyweights out there, this is one of those guys right now. And Tyson Fury don't want nothing to do with any of these guys.
No. Teramoana is, I think that Eddie Hearn's gone too soon on him. So, because he said, I've got this heavyweight as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
but let me ask you this about Eddie Hearn then. What's going on with Ben Whittaker? If we're throwing stones about Conor Benn and a fight and everything like that, where's Ben's fight? Where's Ben Whittaker's fight, Eddie?
It's been announced. He's been announced with no opponent yet on the Morrell and Smith card. So it's not a main event. It's not in any kind. It's not a big Hollywood event. He's been silent for quite some time, and I, as well as this, I'm really surprised. I don't know why this is. I've spoken on this show about this excellent show about Ben Whittaker's game, as far as the way he speaks, all of that, great trash talk, intelligent. He's been silent. Social media, absolutely silent. Now you see what happens with people who blow up when they go for that social media thing, and Conor Benn's an example. So, the silence is really surprising. And you just call people out and they come back to you, and then you're on their lips. You don't have to fight them. But he's been silent. He's got a fight. We don't know who with. It's not a main event. It doesn't sound like it's a co-main. So at least he's fighting, but it's not a good look for Whittaker or Eddie Hearn.
Unless it's somebody like Buatsi. Is there really anybody at, light heavyweight that he's going to be able to get his hands on? He's never going to get a Dimitri Bivol. He's not going to get Callum Smith. He's not going to get David Benavidez. He's not going to, so really for him to move up, because Buatsi's the guy right in front of him. I would love nothing more than to see Ben Whittaker versus Joshua Buatsi. I think that's a great fight.
It is. That would save it. No. I think he's a precocious talent, isn't he? Okay. And he's one of those either burn so bright then fade away, or he's one of those, you came through that, now you're a real talent. And, we have that generally, don't we? We said it about Hamza Shiraz, didn't we? Either, he'll fail here or he'll spread his wings, and he did. So he does need that kind of right now, and this is because of the way that I think he's been managed and promoted. I think he needs that fight. He wouldn't have needed that fight if Eddie Hearn had brought him on slower, but he can't because he's not provided any fights for him. One, but he needed to give him something more regularly so that we didn't need that big and worrying, troubling fight.
Well, and this is what's going to happen. This is why we're seeing guys go over to Zuffa, because they've got TV. They've got a steady TV stuff. Is this a case just like with the UFC and having so many guys, they don't have enough TV time to get all of these guys fights? Is this what's happening inside of the old rank of boxing right now, is that there's just not enough TV time? I say that because if they weren't worried about Zuffa Boxing, they wouldn't have all got together with DAZN and had some little, hey, how about we put everything other than that on DAZN? If that doesn't scream of, we are worried without saying we're worried, come on. What are we talking about here?
Well, we said this, didn't we? We say it and it happens. So we say it, and the following Thursday, Top Rank say, okay, Bob Arum wasn't there, but he's he said this is going to be great. And top honchos, top rank people were there to sign up with DAZN. Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, just signed an extension with DAZN. You've got all of that in one basket and all the other eggs in the Zuffa basket. And Zuffa, remember, is confused at the moment because it doesn't quite know what it wants to be. Eddie Hearn's right, but that's only because, as you say, people are saying, yeah, love to come over to Zuffa. And Zuffa cannot say, well, take a running jump because we're not ready yet. They want to bring them on board. But that means, hey, we're promoters like other promoters. And I didn't expect they were going to be, but they're going to have to do that. But not crossover boxing because Dana hates it.
Here's a question that I have for you, though, because we also saw the Zuffa Boxing just picked up Boxers Leftovers. And I'll say it, and signed a deal with Sky Sports, right? And good for them. Good for them. I'm surprised that more shots haven't been taken at them because in the grand scheme of things, the BBC does better numbers. Even BBC 2 does better numbers than boxing does on Sky Sports. But this is a good foot in the door. And what this also means is that now Zuffa Boxing is going to be doing events over in your neck of the woods, young man.
Yes, and it is what Boxer has done, absolutely. But Eddie came out and did the same thing that he did when the Boxer BBC deal was announced. I mean, he almost used the same words. I think he's got, 4 shows a year? Now, apparently it's 5 shows a year, but they'll be doing more. Sure. And they're going to start with the next Zuffa. Is that tomorrow? The next Zuffa thing, yeah. Next Zuffa Sunday show. Is it next week? Anyway, it's going to be the pay-per-view arm. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a pay-per-view arm, isn't it? I guess. And I'm just asking you now, are there no Paramount Plus subscribers in the UK? Are they banned from using Paramount Plus? Because I think there are Paramount Plus subscribers in this country. And Paramount Plus may be saying, just a minute, isn't that some kind of dilution? I would like some more juice with my water, thanks.
They've already got it right now, though, in Canada, right? Because Paramount Plus, because the UFC has a deal in Canada where they're on Sportsnet or whatever it is here. So they can't show the UFC fights on Paramount Plus yet. I have Paramount Plus. I live in Canada. I cannot watch them there, but I do watch Zuffa Boxing on Paramount Plus. Them getting a deal over there, though, for Sky Sports, them also doing this new deal with Conor Benn. Let's say we get this Regis fight out of the way because they got to do a live event. What if they do a fight with Conor Benn over there? Because now here's the other question I have for you, and this kind of ties into the fight that Matchroom just did this past weekend, right? With Carlos Adames defending quite well. I mean, even after he hit him in the nuts, he's like, I'm going to knock you down. I'm going to hit you in the nuts and I'm going to whoop your ass the whole time. He looked great, but he is an aging champion right now. That is the WBC. There'd be a lot of strings to pull. But if you had the inside of that middleweight division, Erislandy Lara is probably your other biggest star. And he's also, 35, 38 fights into his career already. He is probably on his way out. So your biggest name and your biggest star at that weight class, without having to cut weight, without having to do anything, is a young man by the name of Conor Benn. That is the name. And if you can get this out of the way, and then all of a sudden, as Zuffa, you say, hey, we're going to do a fight in the UK. It's going to be on Sky. It's going to be doing the thing. It's going to have Sheiky's money behind it. We're just going to need you to do one more, or maybe just sign to these 3 more fights, this 3 more fight deal, but we're going to get you that title fight. I think that is the route that they're going to look to try to go.
Yes, I think that's fair enough, and it's money versus titles, isn't it, for Conor Benn? But I still think, and I know what face you're going to pull, even if you're Zuffa Boxing, you do the Chris Eubank trilogy first. You do it. You have to do it. You have to do it at a big British stadium, and you have to do it, and you make a lot of money out of it because people are still calling for it. I know you don't like it, but I think you have to get that out of the way.
This is the equivalent of MVP doing an MMA show at this point. Like we're using people that just are retired now. Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't need to box anymore, and he shouldn't box anymore, especially with these weight hydration clauses. Like, go fight at a weight class that you're comfortable at. The problem is it puts him fighting at, like, you know what, super middleweight. Okay, who are you going to fight there? Hamza Shiraz? Nope, you're going to get schooled there. But I'll tell you right now, I would sit down and I would enjoy me some Chris Eubank Jr. versus Caleb Plant. I would enjoy a throwback fight like that, but I don't want to see Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn a third time, because I don't. What are we going to do? What are we going to do this time around? Because they did the first one. Oh, it's all about the dads. The second one, it's not about the dads, but at the last minute, just kidding, it's about the dads. What are we doing? Bringing the moms back now? Like, what's next for all of this? This is silly.
Appreciate your view entirely, and you're quite right. And it's the hurt business, and he has been hurt. So, I don't want to see him fight again. You're right. But the business of boxing dictates that. It's the completion. It's the rubber match. And the business of boxing. I'm not saying I want that fight, but I'm saying, and I don't, but what I'm saying is that there's a vacuum whenever you say rubber match and something fills it, and promoters and fans go, yeah, I want a bit of that. But it shouldn't happen for Chris Eubank or for Conor Benn, actually, because he's stepping back, isn't he?
The problem is it happened in Rocky as well, Steve. Right? And we ended up with Rocky 3, which was okay. But the problem is we ended up with Rocky 6. We ended up with Rocky 17. We ended up with a whole thing afterwards that just didn't need to be there. And I would have been just fine after Rocky 2.
Wait a minute. I thought I knew you. Are you saying you don't like Rocky 3? Are you saying you're not keen on Clubber Lang?
I never said, I didn't say it. I didn't say that. But more importantly is the problem that it put on a young Burgess Meredith's heart. I don't know if we need that happening to Chris Eubank Sr. or this time around.
Yeah, I mean, actually, not a lot of time for Chris Eubank Sr. He comes around, we have cake. He wears a pair of jodhpurs. I wear some wingtip shoes. We have cake and tea. I wear a monocle. And he tells me how upset he is about his son. It's clear. And, he doesn't hide that. And yes, I think it's right that he's worried about, oh, there's my glasses falling off on the floor. I think he's worried about his son's his son's health. And he should be, he's had a procedure recently. We don't quite know what it was, but we're very clear about that. Yeah, let me reiterate, I don't want that fight, but I think the business of boxing says, yeah, that's something we haven't cleared up yet.
I fear that it's going to be a roadblock that I think that you're probably right, that it's going to have to be cleared up before the road can move forward, which is a shame. I think that the only thing that stops it from happening is one of those guys just coming out and saying, yep, I'm retired. And it's not going to be Conor Benn. It's going to be Chris Eubank Jr. who's going to have to say, I'm retired. And he should be. He doesn't need to fight anymore.
But can I ask you, though, is Conor Benn, because I believe this was just a move to upset Matchroom. I really believe that. A $15 million move to upset Matchroom. They haven't got a fight for him. that's any good. The Regis Prograis fight, not good. Not good in my view. Not for $15 million. Not even for half or quarter of that. So I'm sorry, Regis, that's the way it is. So is he shining enough for after this has happened, let's get this fight over with, and then the contract's done? Or are they going to think, actually, Conor Benn's my man. He can move on. Because I don't think without Eddie behind him, he is that kind of personality. You know, with Eddie the hype man, he was doing all that. I'll kick your head in. I'll do it. I'll fight you anywhere. And people are coming back. I don't know. Since he's been with Zuffa, been quiet. And I know there was that issue around. I left you and didn't give you so much as a phone call. And I also nicked all your DVDs and all that. Not saying he did. But, you know, and you know, so I've changed the locks and I've moved out. That kind of thing. He's been quiet. And I just don't know if he's that kind of fighter without Eddie Hearn with him. I don't know whether Zuffa will say, done, mate, off you go. Or whether they're going to say, you're the man. Because I don't think he is.
Well, here's the difference, I think, is because so Dana will be the guy to, like, he promotes the brand and the fights whenever he promotes. He promotes UFC, he promotes the fights, unless you ask him about a specific fighter. Whereas, because every fighter on his cards are his fighters. A lot of times with a lot of boxing cards, you have fighters from different promoters. You've got a boxer fighter. You know, Jamie TKV is going to be on the upcoming cards coming up, and you've on the same card, you've got a matchroom guy. So you've got these different promoters who are there, and their focus is to focus on that one or two guys that they have on the card, because if they don't, why the hell are they there? So they become the mouthpiece for that person, right? Whereas Dana doesn't do that for any fighters on his cards. He does it for the card itself. Eddie has to do it for the fighter himself, because if he doesn't, he's not getting paid. Because everybody's going to be like, well, what am I paying you for? Well, you're not the one putting up the posters. Well, you're not the one making the phone calls. You're not the one sitting around and even doing the negotiating. You're literally to promote me on this fight night. That's the only thing. That's the only difference. The only thing that's missing out, I think.
But so, yes, you're right. Stripping that away then, is Conor Benn a good enough, big enough fighter on his own to lead part of Zuffa Boxing? You know, is he one of the twin towers with Jai Opetaia? Is it Opetaia and Benn? Are they the two to lead this company forward into the pay-per-view market, which is what I think they're going to be doing, and all of that? Because I'm not sure without the hype man, I don't think Conor Benn is the fighter he thinks he is for the business of boxing.
Well, there's one guy that you could find out, and that's the guy who just won this past weekend. And that is the WBC middleweight champion, Carlos Adames. That's a guy who I think could challenge it. And I think that that's really because outside of that, who's in that division? That division is shit. There's nothing going on there. You know what I mean? So what's Conor Benn doing there?
Yes. And that just leads me to reiterate. So you've got an Adames, I mean, and he's not a recognizable name crossover wise or for people who like boxing but don't watch it all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, you and I and others will know him, and you know, I was really keen. It was a great fight. It was a great fight. He put on a superb show, yep. I thought. But as you say, getting older, doesn't have a good ground game for social media. And if he's fighting Conor Benn, and Conor Benn without the hype man, are people going to come out and see that? Are Zuffa Boxing going to say, took a bath on that Prograis fight, because we knew we were, it's not worth 15 million, took a bath on the Adames fight, as you say, who else is there? Are they going to cut their losses? Because what do you do? I mean, Jai Opetaia, there's a lot of opportunity for that man. And he wants to unify us. He wants to unify. And that is a problem for them. But with with Conor Benn, he's going to have to move up or down in weight, isn't he? I mean, if you want to talk welterweights, then you could talk about Ryan Garcia, but you're going to have to do some weight stuff, and you're also going to have to talk to the WBC and other, because it's alive in that weight class. But does he belong there?
Here's what's going to change the entire narrative on all of it, I think, Steve. The thing that's going to make all of this change is numbers. And if Zuffa and Paramount can produce numbers that make the sanctioning bodies go, you know what? Yeah, we do want our belts in front of those eyeballs. Yeah, we are going to do that. And promoters be damned, because at the end of the day, they're the ones with the belts. The promoters are just trying to shuffle these things around. I think you end up seeing that, though. I think that you will see that. And I think that you will see a WBC belt within a year defended, or at least fought for, on a Zuffa card. I do believe that.
I think you could be right. And
because, let's think about this for a second. What is stopping Carlos Adames? He's still the champion with that belt, right? What's stopping him from signing with Zuffa?
Absolutely. Oh no, absolutely. This can happen. And you think a long game, and I think a game next Tuesday. So I'm more immediate than you, and you've always seen the long game, and that probably works. But I'm into what's the next dick move.
Sure.
So and I live around that. I'm a hype man myself in a lot of ways. So that's the way it works for me. You could be right. You could be right. I mean, the promoters, the sanctioning body, should I say, are not, certainly the WBC, are not doing a fantastic job at the moment. I said they'll make a lot of decisions and we might not like some of them. And certainly the WBO, wasn't it, haven't liked what they did around the Zurdo Ramirez and Benavidez fight, because their belt wasn't up for grabs, and yet they've muscled in by producing a new belt. Have this, lads? No, hang on a minute. It's like photo bombing. They have no skin in this game, and yet here's a commemorative belt you can win, lads. What do you mean? We already have two sanctioning bodies, WBO, WBA. So why would you? Why are you doing this? I know you've got the belt left over from the Glory in Giza, and you melted it down and made another one, which is nice, but a very busy belt. But it's not helping them to do this, and they do need to get on to actually face what Zuffa are doing.
Well, it's going to be interesting to find out how this whole thing plays out. I still believe that in a year from now, I'm going to make the bold statement that Zuffa is at the top of the food chain in the world of boxing. And I'm going to go you one step further. Jake Paul is not only sitting at the table, he's promoting for the UFC. That's what we're going to say right now, ladies and gentlemen. And him and Dana are going to be just fine.
Yes, because what we've had I think you're right. What we've had over the past few days and somebody's got to be writing this press release, because nobody writes an article. Nobody wakes up, scratches their arse and says, I know, I'll write about, there's got to be some kind of press release coming in. And I've seen two prominent organizations writing articles about, one saying, well, MVP are the main challenger to the UFC now. And I said, what? And the other one saying, well, that card with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano is better than the White House card for the UFC, and MVP are doing better. So I don't agree with either of those views, but somebody is writing a press release and somebody is doing a piece on that. So it's being positioned, isn't it?
So I'll tell you what it really is, Steve. Here's what I believe. It's a job interview. This whole thing is a job interview. Can Jake actually do this? Can Jake actually be a guy to do this kind of thing? The UFC doesn't give a shit about MVP in the MMA world. They really don't care about him in the boxing world. That's a Zuffa Boxing thing. But now you've stepped into this. Okay, let's see what you can do. Why do this? Well, maybe because Jake is the kind of guy, because he's got that touch on the youth. He's got that ability to look forward. Maybe Jake Paul is the guy that the fine folks at TKO are looking at to take over the promoting end. Maybe he's the next Dana White and we just don't know it yet. That's what I think. I think this whole thing is a job interview. How well can you do inside of the MMA world? Because we saw what happened with Scott Coker. We saw what happened with the guys that used to run Strikeforce. We saw what guys outside of all of those guys, when your company gets dissolved and we take over your company, you end up getting a job with us. You end up working for us. You end up doing a very high profile job. Those guys have it. When they had a Canadian branch, still works for the company. I think that Jake Paul would be absolutely stellar inside of that role as the next Dana White. And I'm going to say it, hot take right now. Let's go within a year.
I think you could be right, which is, people have said, okay, couldn't resist Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, couldn't resist it, so we had to put it on.
How did he get them? Actually, how did he get them? Because this whole thing was brought to Dana first. They've even said this whole thing was brought to Dana first, and he said, meh. Or did he say, hey, I got a better idea. Let's play the long con on this one. Let's get everybody paid. But now everybody's comparing, because everybody's comparing these two shows. These shows are a month apart from one another. Why can't we just appreciate that there's two things? But they have to compare it. They have to compare it because it's the biggest thing that the UFC is doing. They're not just going to say that, oh, this Netflix card is just as special as UFC 326. That doesn't mean shit. So they got to do this big thing and like, oh, it's just as big as the White House card. Like the White House card is this great big thing that they've been doing for decades. No, this is a first time thing that they've done for that. And they've realized that there is a shit ton of obstacles that they've got to deal with in doing this. So why not take some of the heat off of all of that and create this whole thing with your friend Rhonda that you put on, and take Jake's money, take Netflix's money, take all of this stuff. Yes, absolutely. Let's do this. That's what I think. But I'm a long driver.
Yeah, you could be right. It's a big card that let's see how he gets on. Yeah. He'll do well. And then it's a Sorcerer's Apprentice situation, isn't it?
Let's see. Steve, always an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you. Look so relaxed in your Ben Sherman, just hanging out, enjoying the sunshine. Yeah, well,
yeah, I'm on a holiday.
What other time would you be wearing a Ben Sherman?
Most of the time. We discussed sartorial elegance earlier on, and I had a good time in the local town yesterday. So, I purchased quite a few items.
Well, look who's a dandy boy now.
Popping J, the Beau Brummel of the boxing world.
Not just the pugilistic prophet. No, ladies and gentlemen, he is Steve Swift. I am Chris. This is the Bees of Boxing. Thank you so much to everybody who watches this on YouTube, who listens to it on all of those podcast providers. If you've got comments, please leave them. You guys have been fantastic. Shout out to all of you that have been leaving comments and sharing this. It's only going to grow with all of us. So again, Steve, I don't know, what else there is. What more could you possibly?
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
You almost got out, Steve.
You just did just before that. That really caught me out.
Well, listen, something that you got to do, no matter, because you don't know when it's coming. You don't know when Wu-Tang is going to come up and sneak up behind you and boom, nail you. So just remember one thing, folks. Tuck your chin. You won't